Hello guys, in today's class we shall learn starting as well as speed control of three-phase induction motor. Let's begin. So the first topic is the necessity of starter. Why actually we need a starter? What starter is, right? It's not like without starter your three-phase induction motor doesn't start. It does start, okay? There is no any problem. If we don't use any starter, your motor still runs. But why the topic named necessity of starter? So you should remember that whenever while starting a motor from standstill condition, that is speed is 0. So what happens when you turn it on, it draws huge current, like it will be around 5 to 8 times than the rated current. Say if rated current is around say 5 ampere and all, so it would be around 40 ampere. So initially it draws around 40 ampere current for few say moments, or you can say for few seconds you can say, but that current is dangerous to the motor health. Okay, why? Because when it draws that such huge current, your winding may burn, or the lifetime of the lifespan of your motor may reduce. So so to avoid the high starting current, we are going to use what? The starter. So here we have equation here to explain why the current increases initially when we turn on the motor from standstill condition. Hope this equation you remember. This is the rotor current during a running condition, and this equation we have already say we have derived in your earlier class. So with the help of this equation we can see why the rotor current increases during running condition at the beginning. Okay, see, whenever we start the motor, we all know that it is at the rest position, speed is 0. So we know that when we apply rated voltage, as we know that this E2 is directly proportional to the applied voltage V. So what happens? So you can see that E2 is proportional to I2R. Again, we know that at standstill slip is equal to 1. So I2R is proportional to E2. So what happens? So when that linked with directly proportional, so what happens when E2 is high, I2R will be also very high. Okay, what happens? So rotor gets induced EMF in very large quantity, in large scale you can say. So due to the induced EMF in the rotor, that is E2, so what happens? It will make current I2R to flow with the more value. So large we can say large short circuit current starts to flow in the rotor path. So when it does, what happens? It's just like similar, you can compare to the transformer. Whenever you short circuit the secondary winding of the transformer and you give the rated voltage at the input primary part of the transformer, so what happens? Your secondary side of your transformer also draws huge current, so it also imposes the primary to your primary also will draw the high current. So it happens something same with this three-phase induction motor. So what happens? Your I2R will start to rise at very rapid manner, like it will be around 5 to 8 times the rated current. So to avoid this, we are supposed to use starter. And what starter does? And it's not like starter, if starter is not there, then your motor doesn't start. It does start, like I said before. Only what it does, it limits the starting current. Yes, you heard me right. It limits the starting current, where the can say controlled manner current is flown or input. We're going to input to the stator part. So control manner current is been passed to the stator. So it is again what applicable to the rotor part, where due to the, again you know that due to induction process and all, I2O flows and I2R flows, everything you know. So if the input current itself is limited, that is I1 in the stator part, and then I2 can be also limited. Okay, so this is why we need the starter part. Okay, now let us see the type of starters for three-phase induction motor. So let us see how many starters are there. So here some of the starters have been listed. You can see first one is stator resistance starter. As the name itself indicates, it is the starter which we are connecting to the stator part and not the rotor part. Second one is auto transformer starter. This is also linked to the stator part. We shall see how it works while discussing the next topic. Next one is star delta starter. This is also same with the stator itself. So all 1, 2, 3 are all here with the stator part. Fourth one is, you can see it is clearly mentioned, rotor resistance starter. Okay, so this starter we are used in what you can say it is in connection with the rotor part. Okay, and again remember, rotor resistance starter, it is only applicable to the slip ring type induction motor and not squirrel cage type induction motor, as we don't have any what you can say connecting points for the squirrel cage type. It is a short circuited one, which you all know as per the construction and all. But what you can say, the slip ring type has a connecting points at the slip rings where you can connect the required resistance so as to increase the initial torque, or you can say starting torque. So that's why you are using the rotor resistance starter. Anyhow, we shall see it later. Fifth one is direct online starter. It is also called as doll starter. Okay, let us see how it works in coming topics. So let us begin with the first one, that is stator resistance starter, and how it looks. Okay, and each and every starter which is listed here, its aim is to what? To limit the starting current, except this doll starter. Why? We shall see why it doesn't limit the starting current and all in the next topic. You can see in the diagram stator resistance starter, where you can see this is your three-phase induction motor. This is stator part, and you can see this is a star connected stator, and this is your rotor. Don't worry about rotor and all. Since it is mentioned stator resistance starter, you can see that this is a three-phase supply. Obviously this is a three-phase induction motor. I need a three-phase supply. You can see this is a triple pole single throw switch. Okay, and again you can see after the triple pole single throw switch we are connected, say, rheostats. You can see, okay, with smooth variable rheostats. So they connected to the stator R, stator Y, stator B connection. Okay, R, Y, B, if you take phase sequence R, Y, B and all. Okay, so they are easily movable from here to here. You can see they have given 2 points here. One is run, other one is start. Okay, so to start, make sure this whatever arrow marks are there, they should be placed around somewhere here. Somewhere it can be middle also, not a problem, depending upon how much you want to limit the starting current and all. But make sure it should not be at the run part. Okay, now let us say these all 3 arrow marks are at the initial position start, like I said, here, here, as well as here. Okay, so whenever I make sure this 3-phase supply is there, so turn on this triple pole single throw switch. So what happens now? Current will start flowing these 3 windings. Again, it flows through the resistance. As we know that we have connected my rheostat over here, so it current flows via resistance as well as R, as well as Y, as well as Y, as well as B. Okay, so in all the 3 phases, currents will flow via resistances. Okay, so that is the reason why initial current is limited. Okay, so when your say machine or your AC machine reaches around 70 to 80% of their rated speed and all, what you can do is you can bring this 3 connections to the run position, so that full rated current, or depending upon the load condition, the currents can start to flow. So what we did here, you are limiting the starting current for all the 3 phases, not just one phase. Okay, since current starts to flow here, again there is a voltage drop across these 3 resistances. So due to that, what happens, reduced voltage is applied to the stator. So that is the reason why reduced current starts to flow through the stator windings. Once the motor picks up certain speed, you can say 50% or 60% or 70% of the rated speed, then you can slowly move this knob from start position to run position for all the three windings simultaneously. Okay, so this is how your stator resistance work in limiting the starting current. Okay, now let us see the relation between torque at the start as well as full load torque. As we all know, we have a equation that is rotor power input, where P2 is power input, and then this equation we already know P is equal to T omega in generalized form. Since we are concerned more about the rotor part, rotor input and all, so whatever torque is there, everything else with respect to rotor part and not the stator part and all. So I am writing in terms of rotor. P2 is equal to T omega S, where P2 is the rotor input and T is the torque developed inside the motor, whereas omega is what? Omega S is your speed, you can say. Okay, omega suffix S. Okay, speed of the this what you can say, rotor and all. Now we know that if I say for a constant speed and all, what I can say, I can directly write what? Torque is proportional to the P2, and you people need to remember this equation. P2 is equal to PC by S, where PC is what? Total copper loss occurring in rotor part and all. Okay, so this is S is slip. So whatever torque, rotor input is given, it is 1 by S times of total copper loss. And we know that copper loss is defined by I square into R, but here since we have three phases, I have to consider for all the three phases, so it will be 3I square R. And again I have to add suffix here 2. Why? Because in rotor we have R2 resistance, which you already know. And again, why we are doing I2R and not why I2? The reason why we are not doing with I2, because it is in the running condition, so I need to consider I2R and not I2, okay, alone. So again S comes here. So again I know that 3R2 S, 3R2 and all what, they are constant, so I can remove this. So torque is proportional to I2 square, I square 2R by S. Okay, and again I am going to write a similar equation during the with respect to the stator and all. Okay, so torque proportional to the, I can similarly write with respect to stator current as well as torque is proportional to I1 square divided by S. Okay, and again when we know that during start S is equal to 1, so and during start itself what happens, T becomes T start, whereas I1 becomes I start. So T start proportional to I square ST if I substitute S equal to 1, and again 1 becomes ST as well as suffix of T becomes ST over here. And we know that starting current, as we are limited, no, as we are limiting the starting current, obviously it will be not ISC, let ISC be the what you can say, ISC be the normal current or rated current, you can say. And we know that starting current is obviously less than the normal current, so I will have some fraction over here. I start equal to X times of ISC, means like X can be 0.25 or 0.3 or 0.4 or 0.5 of normal rated current. Okay, as we are limiting no there by adding the resistance in the stator part. Okay, so that's why starting current will be always less than the ISC, remember. Okay, if I use stator resistance method to limit the current, okay, initial current. So what happens here, I can see that T start is proportional to IST square, so I'm going to substitute X into ISC over here. So what I get is T start equal to proportional X times of ISC square. This, hope this you understood. So I'm going to substitute this into here, so this becomes this. Okay, next, and again similar thing I'm going to write with the full load also. Okay, as there is no any S over here. Why there is no any S over here? Because during it is whatever the torque written here, it is during what, start condition. But here you can see there's a full load condition, same thing happens, but here no any X term here, because full load current flows and X will be equal to 1, and again full load slip will be there, so S will be not equal to any 1 or something, it will be having certain slip and all, so S will come into picture, so no X, but there will be SF here. So I'm going to divide TST by TFL. If I divide TST by TFL, means what happens, it will be X square IC square by IFL. So SF goes up, SF is up the top, X square, this is X square, right? X square ISC divided by IFL square, SF goes top, SF into SF. So this is what the relation between starting torque as well as full load torque. and make sure x is always less than 1. Okay, it can't be more than 1, because if it is more,